You drink coffee every day, right? A lot of people don't start their day without a good cup. Now, what if I told you that this very common routine could be both helping your health and putting it at risk? Sounds like an exaggeration, but it's not. The truth is, coffee is one of the most studied drinks in the world, and even so, there are still many myths and confusion about it. Some say it's poison disguised as a nice smell. Others swear it's a fountain of youth. But in the end, is coffee good for you or bad? If you've ever wondered about this, today I'm going to show you, based on scientific evidence, no guessing here, what really happens in your body when you drink coffee. And I'll warn you, what science has revealed in recent years might completely change the way you see this drink. The thing is, coffee isn't just a drink. It's become part of people's routine, culture, and even emotions. Some drink it to wake up, others use it as an excuse for a break at work, and some even turn their coffee time into a kind of self-care ritual. And it's not just in Brazil, either. All over the world, coffee consumption keeps growing every year. In 2023 alone, more than 10 billion kilograms of coffee beans were consumed globally. But is all this love just a matter of taste? Or are we talking about a habit that hides a certain dependence? A lot of people say, "I can't function without coffee." And that raises an important question. Are we choosing to drink coffee? Or are we being pushed by a physiological need that we don't even notice anymore? This is where the debate starts to get interesting. Because what many don't know is that coffee has a direct and powerful effect on the brain. It doesn't just chase away sleep, it literally changes, temporarily, how our body perceives tiredness. And that's exactly what makes so many people feel addicted.
Ever feel drained halfway through your workout? I used to struggle with energy and slow recovery. Then I found this fast-acting nitric oxide booster. It increases nitric oxide by 200% in just 20 minutes. Just mix, drink, and get moving, so simple. I noticed better circulation and more stamina almost instantly. If you want quicker results, this is a game changer. Try it now and feel the difference in your next session.
But hold on. Before we label coffee as a villain or a hero, it's important to understand exactly what it does to our brain. And that's what we're going to talk about now. When you drink coffee, what happens in your body goes way beyond just waking up. There's a clear biological explanation for that feeling of energy and alertness it gives you, and it all starts with a substance called adenosine. Adenosine is a molecule that our body naturally produces throughout the day. It builds up in the brain and acts like a brake, slowing down neuron activity and sending the signal that it's time to rest. It's like a marker of tiredness. The more adenosine circulating, the sleepier you feel. That's where caffeine comes in, the main active compound in coffee. It's clever. It binds exactly to the same receptors as adenosine in the brain, like a fake piece that fits in the spot. And the result? It blocks adenosine's action, stopping the tiredness signal from getting through. Your brain then keeps working like it's still early, full of energy. And there's more. This blocking effect increases the activity of neurotransmitters like dopamine and norepinephrine, which are linked to well-being, focus, and attention. That's why, after a cup of coffee, you feel like your brain kicks into gear. You can focus better, work faster, and even think more clearly. Several scientific studies have shown that caffeine improves reaction time, alertness, and even short-term memory, especially in people who are sleep-deprived. And even when you're well-rested, it can still give your mental performance a little extra boost. But watch out, the effect isn't the same for everyone. People who are more sensitive to caffeine might experience jitters, anxiety, or even trouble concentrating if they overdo it. The secret is the right dose, and knowing yourself. So yeah, coffee can be a great ally if you need focus, energy, and motivation. But like everything that affects the brain, it requires responsible consumption. Now, what if I told you coffee could go even further, and even help protect your brain against serious diseases? If coffee already helps with focus and short-term memory, the question is, could it also protect the brain in the long run? Science has been digging into this question in recent years, and what studies show is surprising. There's a consistent link between regular coffee consumption and a lower risk of neurodegenerative diseases like Parkinson's and Alzheimer's. In the case of Parkinson's, for example, research suggests that caffeine may act like a protector for dopaminergic neurons, the very ones that get destroyed as the disease progresses. A study published in JAMA showed that people who drank about 2 to 3 cups of coffee a day had up to a 30% lower risk of developing Parkinson's over their lifetime. For Alzheimer's, the data is a bit more mixed, but still promising. Research indicates that bioactive compounds in coffee, like antioxidants and polyphenol, may help reduce inflammation and the buildup of beta-amyloid plaques, which are linked to the brain degeneration typical of the disease. It's not to say coffee is a medicine, much less a cure. But there's evidence it can be a protective factor, especially when consumed in moderation and combined with other healthy habits. And that changes the game, right? That daily cup of coffee you thought was just to wake you up might actually be helping your brain age better. But of course, before you start drinking it by the liter, it's worth understanding how coffee interacts with other parts of the body, like the heart, for example. And that's what we're going to talk about now. After the brain, the heart is probably the most sensitive organ when it comes to coffee. A lot of people have heard, or even felt, that coffee speeds up the heartbeat, causes palpitations, or even mild anxiety. And that raises the question, is coffee bad for the heart? The short answer is, it depends on the amount and the person. But the full answer is more interesting than it seems. First, yes, caffeine has a stimulating effect on the central nervous system, which can cause a slight increase in heart rate and blood pressure, especially in people who aren't used to it or who consume very high doses. This is more common in those who drink large amounts of coffee at once or are sensitive to caffeine. But recent studies show that, overall, moderate coffee consumption is linked to a reduced risk of cardiovascular disease. That's right, drinking 2 to 4 cups a day can actually help protect the heart. How so? Well, coffee isn't just caffeine. It's rich in antioxidants, like chlorogenic acids, which fight inflammation and oxidative stress, two villains that speed up the aging of blood vessels. Also, there's evidence that coffee can improve insulin sensitivity and help keep glucose metabolism more stable, which also protects the cardiovascular system. In a study published in the New England Journal of Medicine, researchers followed over 400,000 adults and found that moderate coffee consumption was associated with lower mortality from heart disease. But of course, we're talking about coffee without overdoing it and without that combo of too much sugar, cream, or ultra-processed foods. And here's an important point. Not everyone reacts the same way to coffee. People with heart arrhythmias, uncontrolled high blood pressure, or severe anxiety need medical advice before adding coffee to their routine. But for most healthy people, the drink, when consumed in the right amount, is not only safe but can be beneficial for the heart. Now, if coffee seems like a hero so far, it's time to look at the other side of the coin. What about the downsides? Do they really exist? So far, we've seen that coffee can be an ally, from the brain to the heart. But like every good story, there's also the other side. Because yes, coffee can be harmful, and quite a few people actually feel that in real life. The problem usually shows up when there's too much. And what's too much? Most studies consider anything over 400 milligrams of caffeine per day as a safe limit for healthy adults, which is about 3 to 4 cups of brewed coffee. Beyond that, risks start to appear. And the symptoms go beyond just feeling jittery. Many people report anxiety, irritability, headaches, insomnia, and even digestive issues like heartburn and stomach pain. Caffeine can also interfere with the absorption of some minerals, like iron, especially when coffee is consumed with meals. Another important point is sleep. Even people who say they sleep fine after coffee at night might be getting lower quality sleep, with less deep sleep time. That directly affects the body's recovery and long-term health. And the worst part, the body builds tolerance. Meaning, over time, the same amount of coffee stops having an effect, and the person feels the need to drink more, which can lead to a vicious cycle. When they try to cut back, withdrawal symptoms show up: tiredness, headaches, bad mood. Yes, caffeine dependence is real. Plus, there are specific groups who need to be extra careful: pregnant women, people with gastritis, acid reflux, uncontrolled high blood pressure, or anxiety disorders should talk to a doctor before regularly consuming caffeine. So, coffee isn't a villain, but it's not harmless either. It can be amazing, as long as you know how to respect your limits. And speaking of limits, maybe the most common question is, how much coffee can I drink per day without worry? That's exactly what we're going to clear up now. After everything we've talked about, one question remains: how much coffee is too much? Is there a sweet spot between the benefits and the risks? The good news is that science has a pretty clear answer. For healthy adults, consuming up to 400 milligrams of caffeine per day is considered safe. That's about 3 to 4 cups of brewed coffee on average. If it's espresso, which is more concentrated, the ideal is around 2 to 3 shots a day. But watch out, It's not just coffee that contains caffeine. Teas, like green and black, cola-based sodas, energy drinks, and even chocolate count too. So if you consume these other sources, your daily coffee intake needs to be adjusted. Now about effectiveness, meaning the amount of coffee that actually helps without causing problems. Most people benefit from 1 to 2 cups a day, mainly consumed in the morning or early afternoon. After 3 p.m., caffeine can start interfering with sleep, even if you don't notice it. And of course, remember that everyone's body reacts differently. Some people have 1 cup and feel wired all day, while others can have 2 or 3 and feel just fine. The key is to pay attention to your own body. Now that we know how much to drink, here's a practical question. Which type of coffee is the healthiest? Not all coffee is the same, and it goes way beyond just the taste. The way it's prepared, the concentration, and even what you add to your cup all make a big difference when it comes to health. Starting with the most common, brewed coffee. It's made by filtering hot water through the grounds, which means many solid compounds stay in the filter. This lowers the concentration of some potentially harmful substances, like diterpenes, which in large amounts can raise cholesterol. The result, it's one of the most balanced and healthy types. Espresso, on the other hand, is more concentrated. A small cup has more caffeine than brewed coffee, proportionally. It retains more oils and antioxidants from the bean, which can be good, but for those sensitive to caffeine, it might be too strong. The tip here is to control the amount. 2 shots a day already deliver a good effect. Instant coffee is the most convenient, but also the one that goes through the most industrial processing. It has fewer antioxidants and, in some brands, may contain additives or preservatives. It's not a health villain, but if you can choose fresh or freshly ground beans, that's better. And what about the classic coffee with milk? It depends. If you're not lactose intolerant and you use whole milk, it can even help soften the coffee's acidity impact on your stomach. Just be careful with the sugar. A lot of people use milk as an excuse to add more sweetener. In the end, the best type of coffee is the one you tolerate well, prepare with quality, and consume in balance. And speaking of balance, does coffee help or hurt when you want to lose weight? Just type coffee for weight loss into Google and you'll get flooded with miracle promises. But does coffee really help you lose weight, or is it just another internet myth? Well, let's start with what science says. Caffeine does have a mild thermogenic effect. That means it slightly boosts your metabolic rate, or in other words, the number of calories your body burns at rest. It also stimulates lipolysis, which is the process of breaking down fat to use as energy. Besides that, caffeine can temporarily reduce appetite in some people and improve physical performance during exercise, which indirectly helps with weight loss. But, and here's the catch, the effect is modest. It's not like you drink coffee and magically lose weight. If the rest of your diet is out of balance or you're sedentary, coffee alone won't work miracles. Another important point, what many people call coffee is actually a milkshake. Coffee with whole milk, whipped cream, chocolate syrup, and 3 spoons of sugar. That stuff makes you gain weight, and a lot of it. So if the idea is to use coffee as a weight loss ally, it needs to be prepared simply, black, no sugar, or at most, with a natural sweetener like stevia. To sum up, coffee can be a small helper for those trying to lose weight, especially when used with strategy and moderation. But it doesn't replace a balanced diet or physical activity. Now, if you've made it this far, you might be wondering, with so much information, is it really worth keeping coffee in your routine? That's what we're going to talk about next. After everything we've explored so far, the answer to the main question of the video, is coffee good or bad? Might be less about a simple yes or no, and more about how much, and for whom. Coffee itself is not a villain. Quite the opposite. When consumed in moderation, it can be a powerful health ally. It improves focus, helps memory, reduces the risk of diseases like Parkinson's and Alzheimer's, has protective potential for the heart, and can even assist with weight loss. All of this backed by solid studies and consistent scientific evidence. On the other hand, overdoing it, drinking it at the wrong times, or consuming super-processed, sugar-loaded versions turns this ally into an enemy. Problems like insomnia, anxiety, stomach pain, and even dependence are common for those who abuse caffeine. The secret is balance and self-awareness. Paying attention to how your body reacts to coffee, adjusting the amount to fit your lifestyle, and choosing the healthiest type makes all the difference. And of course, if you have any specific health condition, it's always a good idea to talk to a professional before making coffee part of your routine. In the end, coffee is like many things in life. When used well, it can be wonderful. The problem lies in excess, automatic habits, and mostly, lack of information. And now, you have the information. No guesswork, no myths. Just the truth, as it is. So, after all this, what's your relationship with coffee? Have you ever felt any benefits or issues we didn't mention here? Share with us in the comments. And if you liked this video, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to the channel for more science-based content that really makes a difference in your daily life. See you next time.